It's Monday, not January 12th. I didn't update my show notes. It's February 9th, God damn it. It's Monday, February 9th. It's the day after the Super Bowl. And that also means that it's time for the Knee Jerks podcast of Eno, Nick, and Big Al. I'm the Big Al of the equation, longtime Detroit-based podcaster Al Beaton. Joining me, as always, are my longtime co-host, First Officer, West Coast correspondent, who has been dealing with the partying in Seattle since last night, and that is, of course, Nick Milanovich. So how's things out in Seattle, Nick?
Actually going pretty well. Obviously, the game yesterday was very favorable to us Seattleites out here, and today it's actually pretty quiet today. I can't say anything exciting happened other than me going to the beach for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, what was it like last night after everything went down, after the game was over?
So, I mean, I'm like right in Seattle itself. Right. People were celebrating and horns honking until like later in the evening. But it's not like really aggressive or violent or, out of control. Then I went outside to watch the fireworks because there was like 2 or 3 different places that were having fireworks, like actual bona fide fireworks. So, and I can see a bird's eye view of downtown as well. So I didn't see much going on downtown or any fireworks from there, but people were celebrating. They were definitely happy about this. And, one guy who I knew was a Patriots fan was still arguing about, after the game was over, was still arguing about certain calls. I'm like, okay, good Lord.
That's crazy.
Absolutely insufferable.
Oh, yeah, a mass hole through and through. Yeah, if there was one thing to say about that game, that there is nothing that the Patriots going to do that would have been able to. Seattle completely dominated that game. Looking for anything else to blame other than themselves is crazy. But at least there was no bubble helms. No one standing in front of flaming cop cars or anything. So, or that riot they had in Vancouver a few years ago. So yay. So yeah. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I didn't.
No, I thought you're gonna make plans to go to parade.
Maybe. Depends on how lazy I'm feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, and of course, where things aren't quite as exciting here in Southeast Michigan, joined by my longtime co-host and Substack columnist who wrote about drive yard hockey today, and that would be Greg Eno. And I wish you still had your goalie mask, Greg.
Yeah, so do I, man. That was if I remember correctly, it was a slightly gray. It kind of looked like almost like a Jock Plante kind of a mask. Not the original mask that Jock wore,
yeah,
more 70s type mask. And it was fun. Those days were so fun back in the day, playing in the driveway, getting the snow just right. You had to get the snow just right. You had to have the surface had to be slick and slippery, or else it wasn't as fun. It was good stuff there. I am Greg Eno from my gregeno.substack.com. Follow me on Twitter or X if you prefer, at Greg Eno. And as I mentioned, the Substack, I will be in your inbox every Monday should you subscribe. And I thank everyone who has subscribed. I'm growing, and I'm glad to say that I'm growing. gregeno.substack.com is the place to go. No guests tonight. We're gonna wing it here. We got a lot of topics to cover. We did heavy basketball last time, so at the expense of some other topics. So that's okay. So we're gonna hit some of those. We'll do the Tigers. We'll do some Pistons stuff and whatever else comes to mind. But before we do any of that, it's time, of course, to play a game we like to call Whose Birthday Is It, Maestro? Everybody knows how we play this game by now. I give Al and Nick a clue or 2 or 3 of an individual whose birthday it is today in the world of sports. And if one of those 2 gentlemen can correctly guess this person within the first 2 clues, he'll receive dinner for 2 at Howard Johnson's. Howard Johnson.
Oh, let's get some fried clams.
This person made his name in the world of baseball. He was born on this date in 1975. He is a Hall of Famer, I will say that. Made his big league debut in 1996 with the Expos and finished up in the American League, and I will leave it at that.
96 with the Expos.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. Would it be Pedro Martinez?
No, that's a good guess. No, that's a great guess, but no.
The only one I can think of is Randy Johnson, but I don't know if I got the age right.
Another good guess. Nope, not Randy, not Pedro. Good guesses. Two good guesses. Nope.
Oh, darn, we didn't get on the first one, and I'm in the mood for clams.
Yeah, well, you got one more shot.
All right, with the gameplay out of the way for a little bit, let's move on to our topics du jour. We have, like Greg mentioned, we have a lot going on, and honestly, the Tigers made a surprising amount of news over the past couple weeks. I guess we should start with some sad news, though, because honestly, this kind of hits closer to home to us old guys, Greg and I, as we are young enough to have remembered watching Mickey Lolich pitch. Or say old enough, I should say. We were young, very young at the time.
Right.
But he obviously a Tigers legend, Mickey Lolich, a workhorse of a left-hander, died this past week at the age of 85. Apparently, he spent a short time in hospice. But I believe the last time he made an appearance in Comerica, he was in a wheelchair, and that was a couple years ago. So he had been in ill health. Obviously, he's best known in baseball lore for his MVP heroics in the 1968 World Series, the 3-0 record, hit a home run. He beat Bob Gibson in Game 7 on 2 days rest, and I believe it was a complete game, which is absolutely bonkers to think about now. When he retired, after he spent it, he left Detroit. I believe, Greg, didn't he go to the Mets for a year?
Went to retired. The Mets for a year, yep.
He retired and then came back and pitched relief for San Diego for a couple years. But he spent the vast majority of his career in Detroit, 13 years in Detroit. He retired as the MLB leader in career strikeouts by a left-hander with 2,832. That's very, extremely impressive. He really had a sneaky good career. And he ended up with 211 wins, a career 3.44 ERA. He finished top 3 in the Cy Young voting twice in 71 and 72, which are essentially his career years. And those were the years where he had an insane workload. And his 1971 numbers, where I believe he finished second in the Cy Young to Vida Blue, were absolutely insane. He was 25 and 14, a 2.92 ERA, 376 innings pitched, 308 strikeouts, 45 starts at 29 complete games. Right. And from 69 to 75, he averaged 302 innings a year.
Right.
And it's absolutely insane the workload that man had. And he was a very effective pitcher for the Tigers until he was probably in his mid-30s before he started to fade a little bit.
Right.
But, and Greg wrote about this as well. 1968 was actually a down year for him for the most part. Mm-hmm. But obviously, he completely made up for it in postseason. But at least in Detroit, Mickey Lolich was a big deal. And then he obviously became just as well known here as for his donut shops that he owned. And he was very well known for that as well. So, there's not very many 68 Tigers left. He was, he's one of the last ones.
Yeah, I read where there's 6 surviving 68 Tigers. And when I wrote that piece last week, we started losing those guys really early. Ray Euler, I think, died in 1981. Pharma died in 86. And then it just, and we've lost them in so many different ways. Norm Cash, of course, was died tragically in 86. And, six guys left. I think it's Stanley, Horton, John Warden, Trixie, McLean, of course, and I'm not sure who the other person might be. I'm not sure if Fred Lasher's still alive. I don't know, but it's Mickey was one of those guys who, obviously, if you ask Tigers fans, he should be in the Hall of Fame. Like Bill Freehan should be in the Hall of Fame, and everybody's all these Tigers that should be in the Hall of Fame. But I think with Lolich, you can kind of make an argument. I don't know that it's really. I don't know that it's a strong argument. He did win. I think. Did you say 214 games?
211.
211. Okay, yeah. I mean,
which actually, especially for the guys of his era, isn't on the high side at all.
Right. Yeah, he's over 200 wins. The problem with Mickey, though, as a Hall of Fame guy, is that, and this is not his fault, but he pitched at a time which is known as the second dead ball era, which was the 60s. And the decade of the 60s, as you know, was a pitcher's decade by far. And so much so that they had to lower the mound, of course, for the 69 season. But there were so many good pitchers in that decade, so many of them. that sometimes guys like Mickey got lost in the shuffle because
Yeah.
they were just overshadowed by so many others. There were so many pitchers that put up good numbers in the 60s. It was really kind of unbelievable. You mentioned the 68 World Series, and the thing about that is, had it not been for what Mickey did, and let's say that he didn't do what he did, but the Tigers still won, you could easily have made a argument for Lou Brock to be the MVP, even if the Cardinals lost the series. I mean, Lou was that good. He destroyed the Tigers in that series. But Mickey, you can't. When you do three complete games in a 7-game series, and like you said, Game 7 on 2 days rest. The folklore about that Game 7 was that he would, starting around the 5th inning, Mickey came into the dugout thinking he was going to be pulled by Mayo, and Mayo kept asking him if he could go one more inning. And of course, he went the entire game. And Mayo said later that I had no intention of taking him out of the game. I was just asking him that to make him feel like he was. But no, I never intended for. And game. The other thing I wrote about too in that piece was Game 5. Nobody remembers really that Game 5. Mickey got a base hit. Mayo let him bat for himself in the 7th inning in a game where the Tigers were losing 3-2. Now the Tigers were losing the series 3-1. Now you're down in the 7th inning 3-2. And your season's on the line, and Mayo let him hit. Now, he didn't let Mickey hit because he wanted him to get a base hit necessarily, which he did. But he wanted him to stay in the game because that's how much faith he had in Mickey Lolich. Mickey got a base hit, started a 3-run rally, which put the Tigers ahead. They won that game, of course. Kaline had the big hit, and they won, of course, the 2 games in St. Louis. So Mickey on 2 days rest. But, not to take anything away from that, but there's another thing a lot of guys did back then. Koufax did it. Drysdale did it.
Yeah.
A lot of guys in the 60s who pitched on 2 days rest. I'm not taking anything away from Mickey. That's an amazing thing to be able to do. But, he was I think he was one of the guys on that team, I think, Al, that really was closest to the heart of a lot of the fans because of the way he looked. He looked like a fan.
You took the words out of my mouth there. He was, he overweight, you know.
Yeah.
But an amazing pitcher, and like I said, Tarik Skubal looks at those numbers and fainted. So, but it's a different era, and it's funny. Mickey Lolich was one of those guys who always said, "The more you pitch, the healthier, the more you can handle." He thought, obviously he comes from a different era, but he always believed that pitchers didn't pitch enough, or you got stronger by throwing the ball, and obviously it worked for him. I mean, he had an absolutely insane workload, and it really didn't look like it affected him that much till he got into his maybe his mid-30s anyway, when he would normally guys decline as it is. I mean, I believe his peak years were he was around 30 years old, and he had a heavy workload for years at that point.
Right.
But
I will add in, as a person who missed out on the Mickey Lolich era as a player.
Right.
And I was I'm like 10 years after you guys on all this. But I will say, even for us younger guys, he had already achieved legend status.
Yeah.
He was already a legend. We heard about it more as like folklore kind of thing.
Right.
But we all knew about Mickey and his what he pulled off in the World Series, and like looking back, I'll agree with it, that his like durability is like eye popping.
Right.
Yeah. Like I think Skubal goes like 170 something innings a year. Right. Something on that level.
Yeah.
Lolich was doing double. Like double.
And striking out more guys. Yeah, it's crazy.
So, the only difference now is that they pitch a hell of a lot harder overall.
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
That's what's blowing out. I think that's what's blowing out arms more than anything else. They're just like,
that's a very good.
I mean, they're throwing their eyeballs out. I mean, they're throwing so hard.
And I think I think what you're talking about, Nick, with throwing harder and so forth, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with because they're not expected to go more than 5 or 6 innings at a start. That they do throw that heat, like you said, almost from the not almost from the get go. They're throwing heat, and you're right. You're touching 98, mid to high 90s with their pitches. I don't know what Mickey was ever clocked at, but the one thing, Al, I wanted to mention too about that 71 season, it's no coincidence that Mickey's manager that season was Billy Martin.
Oh yeah,
and Billy was known to burn his starting pitchers. Look what he did to Oakland with Mike Norris and Lankford and McCaddy and all those guys. Just pushed them to death, and may have ruined some of those guys' careers, quite frankly. He didn't do it to Mickey because he couldn't ruin his arm. Right. But the guys that Billy managed with the A's, I think he did burn out. But no, so Mickey was. I remember seeing him pitch several times at Tiger Stadium in person. He always seemed to pitch on the days that I went to the ball game. That's because he pitched he pitched like 3 times a week. That's why. Yeah. But he was one of those guys, Al, that when the big kerfuffle between Johnny Sain and Mayo when Mayo fired Johnny Sain, and one of the big issues there was that Mayo wanted the pitchers to run between starts, and Johnny Sain said, "I don't think my pitchers need to run." Johnny Sain, of course, a great pitching coach, but he's also a short shelf life guy. He never lasted more than a couple years anywhere he went. He was a staunch defender of his pitchers, and he did not think that they needed to run in between starts, and Mayo thought that they did. And so Johnny would stick up for the pitchers, and Lolich, of course, never thought he should run in between starts. You could barely run it, the day he started, let alone between starts. So that was the deal with that, and we got Johnny Sain fired. But Mickey was just just a part of the fabric of Tigers baseball, in certainly in our era, and I think maybe in any era, quite frankly.
Right.
He's mentioned with Newhouser when it comes to the all-time great lefties in Tigers history.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, back then I think the most running they did was to the beer cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
Back then. All right, with the tribute to Mickey Lolich out of the way, the Tigers did make quite a bit of surprising amount of news. And especially when it comes to free agency and their payroll and what the rotation is going to look like this year. And I think a pretty much shocking MLB, all of Major League Baseball, is that the Tigers made a splash signing in free agency, and that they inked 32-year-old left-handed starting pitcher Framber Valdez to a 3-year, $115 million contract. It's, I believe, an AAV of around $38 million per year. The Tigers will give up one of their competitive balanced draft picks because Valdez he had signed a qualifying offer with the Astros. Last year, he posted a 13-11 record, 3.66 ERA, a WHIP of 1.25, 187 strikeouts and 192 innings with 31 starts. He was essentially their ace. He is a workhorse pitcher, rarely gets hurt, will give you 30 starts and around 200 innings a year and be very effective while he's doing it. And he was pretty considered, if not the top free agent, one of the top 2 free agent pitchers available. And when this went at the start free agency, when this happened, he was considered the top free agent left on the market. I don't know about you guys, but I was absolutely flabbergasted when this news broke. I was not expecting the Tigers to make any kind of splash signing at all at this point. From everything they had said, we're saying we're going to run it back. We'll see what especially with position players. We're going to keep Skubal. We like our team, and the next thing you know, they get the top pitcher left on the market. I was absolutely flabbergasted because this is the last thing I expected.
I'll let Nick take this one.
Well, I would. So I think the only thing that they said they would look for in the offseason really was pitching, and it was I think a lot of it was relief pitchers. And they were doing their usual. Let's look through the dumpster to see what cheap relievers we can overpay. Or
the guys they got were all in their mid to late 30s.
Right, and I think I don't know if some guys were had injuries as well or not. I can't remember. I may be mixing them up with last season, but so they didn't make any kind of news. And Scott Harris isn't known for making a lot of splash signings whatsoever, so this caught everybody off guard. Fact is, they need starting pitching. Yep. That was they got beat up on that last year. With I'm thinking Reese Olson was out.
They ended with only 3 healthy starters by the end of the year.
Right. Flaherty was kind of he was kind of sucking last year too. So. At least on paper right now, I'm always going to be cautious when I get excited about a signing. We'll wait till they get on the field and see what happens. That's the other part. And I won't start saying anything until about mid-season, in my opinion. But it seems like a smart thing, at least on paper. So hopefully it does work out. I do still think they need a bat or two. They couldn't drive a fucking run in during the whole playoffs. It just their bats were cold, like except for like maybe one or two guys. So that's the one thing where they kind of just think, to me, they're ignoring, and they're talking about this. What do you call it? Don't block the young guys kind of crap. So, but we'll see. They hopefully kept themselves competitive by doing this.
Yeah, and gives them a little bit of a cushion if they ultimately lose Skubal in free agency, because they still have a top tier starter. And I don't know about you, Greg, but this is like the perfect way to sign a pitcher. Short term, high salary. I mean, 3 years, $38 million. I'm shocked that he actually settled for that. You would have thought he would have been looking for more, because I believe he's 32. You would have thought he would have been looking for at least 4, maybe 5 years, if not more. I mean, they're talking Skubal wants 10. We'll see if that actually happens. But yeah, this is, if you're going to sign and plus there's an opt out after year 2, so at least you're guaranteed 2 years of this guy. But the high salary short term. Perfect. That's exactly what I want to see if you're going to sign a pitcher. I am very, as much as I like Tarik Skubal, I would be so scared to give that man a 10-year contract.
I know what you're saying about that. Pitchers are so volatile. You don't know when something's going to go pop. I understand that. Interesting about this is that it's rare that you see 2 top starters in any given rotation both be lefties.
Oh, yeah.
It's an unusual situation. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but it's unusual when you have 2 lefties that lead your rotation. I know that clearly offense I think is a bigger issue. It sounds like the Tigers are going to try to win a lot of low-scoring games by doing this. What I don't know about this is I really. As exciting as it may be, and I know the fans were excited because they get excited if you spend money on anybody, of course. But I just still not sure what their game plan is now. In this case, with Skubal being in his situation, I guess you could kind of, fit that into the puzzle and say, well, this is like you said, Al, a buffer, if you will, if you want to call it that, in case they do lose Skubal. You got at least one more year of Valdez. Valdez can opt out after year 2, so for sure you've got him for the next 2 years for sure. So you could maybe look at this and say, well, it's related to the Skubal situation. Okay, but the way that they spend money is so weird to me. It doesn't seem to have any real. And maybe again, I guess they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. I'm not really criticizing the move. I'm just not sure, beyond the Skubal situation, what their plan is in terms of building a roster. You can't. It's so hard nowadays. This is not. I still feel like Scott Harris thinks he's playing a different era of baseball. I know you can look at a rotation. Oh, that's a good rotation. But I'm telling you, that's not what wins. Ultimately, what wins is the guys who score the runs. The big bats score the runs. Big hitters, guys at the ball with the fence, teams that can score runs. That's what wins. He's trying to build like a 1990s style game where you overwhelm the other teams with your starting rotation, and everybody has a low ERA, and you're winning a bunch of games 3-2. And I just don't know that that's really feasible anymore. We talk a lot about. We just talked a few minutes ago about guys going 6 innings. And it still comes down to, you can have the greatest rotation in the world. What about your bullpen? You still got to get 9 outs in the back end of the game. Back end of any game, you got to get 9 outs. And if you don't get those 9 outs consistently, I'm not saying the Tigers have a bad bullpen. I'm just saying that, it's not all about starting pitching. You can roll out 5 good starters who are going to give you 5-6 innings a shot, but you still got to get anywhere from 9 to 12 outs after those guys leave the game to win a game. And that's not easy to do. Why? Because everybody's got these big offenses. It's hard to keep these offenses down. And I just don't know if going this route is really the way that you win a championship anymore. I'm finding it. No, I don't think it is, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
if you look at the playoffs and the way things worked out, it was the hitting that made the difference.
Right.
You look at the Mariners and the Tigers, either one of those two teams could have advanced. There was not one that was any better than the other, and they both had solid enough pitching.
Right.
But they were like, with maybe a couple exceptions, they were like really low-scoring games. And remember that 15-inning game? They just brought out pitcher after pitcher, and
I would rather not, but yeah,
do shit. Like, right? And and then what do you call it? In the next series, when the Blue Jays went and I think there were a lot of those games as well. It was like it was the hitting that made the difference. And in the World Series, hitting made the difference in those games. So, and the Tigers' bats were just cold. I think Carpenter was the only one that actually hit, and Javi hit occasionally, and everybody else was just goose eggs.
Yeah.
So, I basically am agreeing with Greg that you need some hitting. So,
Oh yeah, what it really looks like, there's the old saying that you develop hitting and you sign pitching, and it looks like that has become the Tigers' philosophy. They're the offense to roll. They're probably waiting on McGonigal, Anderson, Clark, Theriano, and a couple other guys they got coming up. Looks like they're putting all their eggs in the development basket when it comes to offense and pitching. It's literally all free agency. That's how they're rebuilding the staff, for the bullpen for the most part, and how they just added to their rotation. So it looks like that's going to be the philosophy, at least for the time being, is that they really have put all their eggs in the development basket when it comes to the offense. The problem is, as we've seen, they've come up with some decent guys, but no one who has really stepped up. I thought Riley Green might be that guy, and he actually fell off a cliff in the second half last year. Of a guy that, who's going to be the meat of your offense, the guy who you're going to lean on. And and as you mentioned, the closest they really have to that is Carpenter, who was a platoon bat at best. And he's going to rarely play against left-handed pitching. So, yeah, it's an interesting way to develop a team. But the thing is, I don't know who would be out there now for a bat. Most of the big names have gone by. That there's no one really out there. I mean, pitchers and catchers report like a week, I believe. So I think at this point the roster is what the roster is.
I think you're right about that. And I don't know who there is to sign. I don't get into kind of like they should sign this player or that player. How the fuck should I know? I don't know. I do know they need hitting. And then Scott Harris and his team are paid millions of dollars to figure that out. So,
well, maybe it'll beat the deadline, but we all know what's happened at the deadline the past few years. So
yeah, well, I mean, you could acquire, you could sign a free agent, or you could also acquire.
Oh my God, there is trades, isn't there?
Those still exist. I mean, trade some of the prospects for an established hitter, perhaps. Which seems to be the case. It doesn't seem to be as much, what do you call it, one-to-one, like major leaguer for major leaguer anymore.
Right.
So much anymore, but who knows?
I guess the other, the elephant in the room is the 2027. We know there's going to be a strike or a lockout or something after this next season ends, and who knows how that's going to affect contracts, free agency, the future building of a team.
Right.
So it kind of does make sense to go all in on this year, because who even knows it's going to be a 2027.
Right.
If you call this going all in. Because speaking of going all in, apparently Tarik Skubal brought his Cy Young awards, both of them, his back-to-back awards, to the arbitration hearing, but apparently he didn't need to break them out, because that's the legend that I believe Tim Lincecum did. He slapped both of his Cy Youngs on the table in front of the arbitration team, and that helped him get his money. But apparently Skubal didn't have to do it. He did say he brought them. But he did win his salary arbitration case against the Tigers, and he got a record $32 million for the 2026 season. The Tigers had supposedly countered with $19 million. From all accounts, there was supposedly not a lot of bad blood. No, Skubal's getting paid. The Tigers, apparently this $32 million didn't stop them from making another huge signing. And in the end, Skubal got his money for 1 year. He set a new record, so the players' unions got to be thrilled about this. That the baseline has been raised when it comes to salaries, and he's being paid more before this free agency signing. He was making the most of any because I don't even know if the signing has been made official just yet. But Skubal, the $32 million, would be the highest paid pitcher ever until obviously they signed Framber. So all in all, the whole thing seemed stupid. You really would have thought that I don't know if this is Boros. I don't know if this is the Tigers, because you would think with that kind of a gap, they could have met in the mid-20s, 25, 26 or something like that. And you would have thought everybody would have been happy. But it really felt like Boros was hell-bent on taking this arbitration, and the Tigers were hell-bent on trying to keep the salary down. So I really don't know what happened here, but Skubal won in the end.
Well, as he should have, given the dollar figures.
That's the thing. He deserves the money. That's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and that's what I think is another thing that's making people rub their chins about this, is that the supposed lowballing, if you want to use that term, of Skubal, yet they signed Valdez for literally twice as much money. Skubal, they wanted to pay him 19, and they signed Valdez for 38 per. It just, I don't know. It's just maybe it's just the business of baseball has gotten so out of whack that it's fruitless to try to make any sort of logical.
I think you're onto something there.
Yeah, maybe it's just everything's like kind of you got to use a silo mentality, and things aren't really as symbiotic as you think they are. They everything's just like in its own little. There's really not that connection anymore. So maybe all these things, you're comparing all these things, that really doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's unbelievably spring training is going to start in a week to 10 days here, and typically nothing happens from a player signing trade standpoint at this time of the year. Usually everybody's pretty much signed. Everybody's going to get traded, would have been traded by now. So this, like you said, Al, I think when you look at the 40-man, this is what you're going to have for at least the beginning of 26.
Yeah.
With the what do you call it? With this whole arbitration thing, I think I'm starting to feel that the whole thing was very performative. The Tigers offered what they offered. I read that only Harris and Greenberg went down for the arbitration hearing. They didn't send like an army of lawyers and to negotiate this and plead their case. I heard they also, what normally happens in these, it's kind of a shitty situation, because let's say a player has a good season like Skubal did. Normally you would have the agent, and the player sort of selling their accomplishments. And
doesn't the team essentially rip the player to shreds to make their case? Yeah.
And apparently neither Greenberg nor Harris did any of that. So I have a feeling it was more performative. I have a feeling it was more than just Skubal versus Tigers kind of thing.
Do you think it was? Well, let me ask you this: do you think it was the Tigers trying to keep other owners happy?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I haven't unraveled the whole thing and fully understand it, to be honest. But I'm thinking it has more to do with either just player salaries in general. Okay, everybody in the frickin' who watches baseball knows Scott Boras is going to take his player to free agency. Unless the player absolutely says no, just sign me, right? Just get it done. They're going to set he's going to free agency. There was no way they're going to sign a contract any sooner than they have to.
Right.
And I think it rarely backfires on Boras. I think one or two players that got pretty close to. He wasn't able to get a good deal out of it. But I think there's more to it than just Tigers versus Skubal, Tigers being cheap and sort of, it's kind of like maybe what Greg said. It might even be more than just kind of appeasing other owners, pushing back on salaries. So, but I don't understand it fully. I'll be honest, I don't understand it fully.
Exactly. I think performative is a great way to put it. The Tigers knew that they probably were going to lose, and so they put their best foot forward for the owners, try and keep the salary down, which was never going to happen. But I think performative is a good point, because everything I've read after the fact, Skubal doesn't seem bitter at all. He was prepared to go to battle, and he didn't really have to. So great. I hope that maybe this is also playing into the Tigers hoping to re-sign him when he hits the open market. It makes sense to keep your best player on good terms and not burn bridges. And fighting tooth and nail in arbitration could be considered burning bridges.
Especially like that. I mean, think about $19 million salary to Skubal when they just spent $15 million on an old pitcher who didn't even pitch. Right?
One Alex Cobb, yes.
Right? So 2 Cy Young awards are worth an extra $2 million each. Like, seriously. And I don't know if Flaherty made more than he did, the Skubal did or not. I can't remember anymore.
Yeah, he did. He's at $20 million
per year.
Yeah. He had an option, and he took it at $20 million because he hit a bunch of innings. What do they call them? Performance options. He hit some targets, so he took it. He had an option, and he took it at $20 million. So he would have been making more than Skubal as well. Right, and
he was, each million was worth of one loss last year. It felt like but I think Skubal's smart. He understands. You're right. He understands this is a business. This is the kind of game he's playing. So it may very well just been a performative thing. But if they had to, they were willing to whip out Cy Young awards, and it's like, okay, how do you argue that?
Yeah, exactly. That would have been my entire argument. Bam. All right, give me my money now. So, but yeah, it's and this kind of blows out the online pizza boy is cheap talk. I mean, we could discuss if he's spending the money correctly, but they are now going to be projected to be just under the what they call the salary tax, salary cap tax, luxury tax. Thank you. That's it. They're going to be projected to be around 220 to 230 million. I mean, 90 million alone is the 3 starting pitchers, but that's going to be approximately 11th overall in Major League Baseball, and it pretty much blows the rest of the Central out of the water. The closest to them are the Royals. I was shocked it was the Royals. The Royals going to be around 180 million. The Twins 110 million. The White Sox, who are in by far the biggest market in the division, and being out of Chicago, obviously, 105 million. And the Guardians, as always, take up the rear are going to be around $93 million. So the Tigers are going to be spending twice as much salary-wise than 3 of the teams in the Central. So if that doesn't speak to why baseball is broken, I mean, essentially you got ownership in 3 cities not willing to spend any money at all. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that baseball allows owners to, just not spend, and also for that matter, didn't receive revenue back because they're not making enough money or whatever. It's ridiculous.
You can make the argument that baseball needs a floor more than they need a
yes, yeah, definitely.
Really,
yeah.
I mean, I know that there's an inequity in spending. That's been going on forever. I get it. There is. I mean, the Dodgers, have obviously just
$1 billion payroll or something like that. You factor in deferrals.
And really, you can't even, used to be you could make the argument, well, just because they spend money doesn't mean, you can't buy a pennant, all that old argument. Well, you can't just throw money. Well, look, it's hard to make that argument when the Dodgers are winning World Series. I mean, it really is working. But baseball, it's funny, Al, even when way before free agency was a thing, of course, free agency has been around for about 50 years now.
Yeah.
Way before that, even you had teams sandbagging it. The St. Louis
Oh, yeah.
Browns, the Kansas City Athletics.
Oh, yeah.
The Kansas City Athletics were essentially a New York Yankees minor league team. Essentially, I mean, they I don't know how many guys they traded to the Yankees for nothing almost, because they couldn't afford or wouldn't pay. And I know there was no free agency back then, but you still had to pay salaries, and players would still hold out and try to get more money and so forth. The A's would always trade good players like Roger Maris, and I can list a whole bunch of them, to the Yankees for nothing. And the Yankees and the A's had a weird, very shady relationship between the two franchises. But there were a lot of teams in baseball back then who sandbagged it. They had no intention of winning. The Browns I mentioned, the old Philadelphia Phillies of the 30s and 40s, no intention of winning. And every year you went into the year knowing that who the teams were going to finish last place and next to last, but you didn't necessarily know who would win the pennant.
Right.
Unless it was the American League, because the Yankees were always winning the pennants, but you knew who was going to finish last. And it was the same teams over and over and over. Connie Mack did the same thing. Sold off a lot of his stars with the Athletics when they were in Philly and so forth. This has been going on forever. You're always going to have these bad actors as owners. But I think the floor is the problem sometimes. But here's what I've always said, and I really believe that these so-called small market teams could pay Ohtani, for example. I'm just using him as an example. They could pay him if they could outbid the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Mets and so forth. If they wanted to, they could. These guys, there's no owner in professional sports. This isn't the 70s where you had a bunch of poor owners like in every sport. This is a new era. There's no owner out there in any sport who's living paycheck to paycheck. None. They all wipe their ass with money. They all have money, or else they wouldn't be in the game. And some of them spend more money than others, but you can't tell me that the Kansas City Royals couldn't scrape up enough money to pay Ohtani. They just choose not to. I think it's a fallacy when you call these big markets, small market. I think that's a fallacy. I think that's gaslighting by baseball and by the owners that they try to purport that there's these classes of teams that say, well, because we come from a small market like Kansas City or Seattle or whatever, that we can't possibly compete. Cleveland, we can't possibly compete with the Yankees and poor us. Oh, the evil empire, the Dodgers and the Yankees. Don't forget, Al, the Red Wings were part of the evil empire.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
They were going on buying players left and right. Illich was breaking off checks to Brett Hull and Luke Robitaille and Hasek and all these guys. You built a Hall of Fame, dotted roster that won the Cup in 2002. Before the cap hit.
And it was great as a fan to root for a team that actually would go all out to win.
And Detroit is not. Detroit is not a quarter. This whole small market thing is just based on media.
Detroit's not a small market. Never has been. Yeah.
So I don't want to hear. I know that we have this ruling class, which is these 3 or 4 teams that spend everything, and all these other people don't have anything. Their pockets pull their pockets out because they're empty. That's not true. Every one of these owners has money. They just it's just how they choose to, And you mentioned it. You've mentioned I don't know how many times about the Rays, about their MO, what they do.
Yeah, exactly.
And Nick's mentioned it about the Guardians.
Yeah, and it's and you make a great point about there's no owners that make their living owning a baseball team. The Bill Vecks of the world are long gone.
Right.
Now, where that was their income. You don't see it in any of the big 4 sports. You don't see the Charlie Finleys, the Bill Vecks, who was the owner of the Raiders
Finley.
All those years?
We said Finley.
Al Davis.
Al Davis was another one, exactly. That was their income. That isn't there anymore. These are all guys who made their money in other ventures, and the baseball team is their toy, and they are billionaires several times over. I mean, the Tigers are owned by Illich Entertainment, not by Chris Illich per se. It's owned by the family. But I believe they're worth $7-8 billion, something like that, at least. I mean, they bought that team, I believe, for $62, and now it's worth $2 billion, $3 billion now, and it would be worth more if the team had been run better over the past 10 years, So, and don't get me going on the Mike Ilitch was a good owner. He only became a good owner when he got embarrassed. He didn't put any money into that team till the 119 loss season. Then he started pumping money into the Tigers. Right. He was one of those guys that we just talked about that refused to spend, and that changed for the better, and it became probably one of the most entertaining decades of baseball we've ever had in Detroit when he actually decided to spend.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Because remember the knock on Old Man Ilitch was that he was putting all of his resources into the Red Wings. Remember that?
Exactly.
That was always the knock on him, and he wasn't doing anything with the Tigers. Yeah. And a lot of people have revisionist history when it comes to Old Man Ilitch owning the Tigers because, they did have that successful run. You're right. But you're also right when you said that things had to bottom out.
Yep.
And let's face it, he bought the team in '92. They didn't do anything for the first 14 seasons. Okay.
And let Tiger Stadium rot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then hired John McHale his only job was to get Comerica Park built.
Right.
Which also I saw, the name's going to be changing next year because Comerica got bought out by Fifth Third. So
really?
we can't call. I saw that like a week ago or so. They're going to keep it Comerica for this year. It's because it's too late to make any changes.
Yeah.
But next year it'll be Fifth Third something or other.
Kidding.
I'm guessing. Yeah,
wow.
that'll be. I'm still probably going to call it Comerica. Hell, I was going to call it. I called it Tiger Stadium for years while I got Comerica down. So, but
Fifth Third sounds like such an awful name.
Yeah, I believe that's the name of the stadium of the Mud Hens team in Toledo. That's Fifth Third Stadium. So, I do not like that, but it is what it is. That's sports today. It's all about the naming rights. There's no tradition when it comes to it. And Comerica, at the very least, sounds like it should be a ballpark, if you know what I'm saying. It must be the Eka at the end. But Fifth Third? Fifth Third? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Whatever. So that maybe a year from now, which I can't wait to attend a game at Fifth Third. God forbid.
Oh boy.
So
makes it sound like that's like the intersection of where the ballpark's located.
Yeah,
I know, right?
Yeah, Fifth and Third.
Yeah.
Do you think if they got enough money, do you think they would rename it if they got enough sponsorship from something like Pornhub that they would rename it?
Yes, I do.
Pornhub Park.
Yes. Pornhub.com Park.
Oh,
yes,
man.
I can see. The thing is, if there's enough money involved, I mean, we've seen it with gambling. Gambling was a no-no until it wasn't when the money got too big.
Right.
It could happen with porn.
Money talks.
Well, it's just only a matter of time. I mean, that stuff's like getting very mainstream now anyway. So
Yeah, that's true.
it's not as like people don't freak out about it as much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And this actually, money is a good, I guess it's a good way to segue. This is kind of both a joint Tigers and Red Wings topic before we move on to our second question. FanDuel Sports Detroit is essentially a dead RSN walking. The regional sports network first known, actually you could trace its roots all the way back to PASS, honestly. When it became PASS, then it became Fox Sports Detroit, then it became Bally Sports Detroit, and then it became FanDuel. Well, it looks like we've reached the end of all this, as the Tigers announced today with the FanDuel owner, because FanDuel is his naming rights. The gambling company just has naming rights. The company's owned by a spin-off of Sinclair Broadcasting called Main Street, and they are the verge of going under. I guess they missed payments to 9 different Major League Baseball teams, so including the Tigers. So they pulled, essentially, we're done with you. And it was announced today that with Main Street Sports, the FanDuel, it's going to go under. It's not dead yet, but they're not going to. At the end of the hockey and basketball season, it's probably dead. LH Sports and Entertainment announced that Major League Baseball will take control of the production, broadcast, and distribution of Tigers television broadcasts for 2026, so next month. The deal will also bring the Red Wings broadcast under Major League control starting next season, 26-27. No announcement on pricing, no announcement on what you need to do to get the apps or where it's going to be streamed at, but it's anticipated that the Tigers and Red Wings will be a joint package. So at the very least, if you're paying monthly or annually, you'll at least get both of those teams together, so you're not paying $20 a month for the Tigers and then also $20 a month for the Red Wings. At least you're getting both teams. So now we don't know what's going to happen to the Pistons. Are they going to get tied into this somehow? Are they going to go with NBA? I don't know. But regardless of all this, all these years of the regional sports networks being a cash cow for the teams has probably come to an end, because there's been talk that a lot of these teams could take, maybe in broadcast rights alone, maybe take up to half of what they were normally getting. Essentially this should be building for the future, because the regional sports network thing has been a dying thing for several years. I mean, Sinclair overpaid for them when they did it. I think they spent $8 billion, and immediately it was like, oh shit, they're in trouble. Because everybody's cutting the cord. No one gets cable anymore, and that's how these RSNs were making their money, was through cable subscriptions. So in the end, who knows? I don't know where the Pistons are going to go or how much any of this is going to cost, but FanDuel Sports Detroit is probably going to be dead by June, and honestly, it won't be mourned.
No, I think the name alone, it just gives me creeps. I mean, I just don't like, that's just too cozy. I'll let Nick go.
I think I don't get the regional stuff that you guys get, so it's hard for me to comment.
Because you're out of market, so
but from my perspective, it just seems like a total mess. I mean, I think all of this streaming services and it seems like a lot of chatter I've seen online is trying to figure out how to just get the fucking game on.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. People are like, I want to watch the game, and they can't figure out how. It should be simple.
It's like the stupidest thing. If these guys have like major marketing departments, it should be as easy to get to your product as possible, not as complicated as possible.
Yeah. Right.
So that's stupid. And if in the regional sense, like, you want to get to your market, and that's part of your revenue, and you want to make it as complicated as possible for your fans to get to your games. That's dumb. That's bad business.
Yeah.
It's just like, it doesn't make any sense, and it sounds like an utter mess. It sounds like it's been an utter mess in the Detroit area for a while. I think when Valley was there, and then it got taken over, I think, by FanDuel, I suppose, and they were starting to change announcers for the Tigers games, and it's just like, everything's just a mess, it sounds like.
Yeah, because it also, on most cable systems, it got moved from the basic to the higher tier. If you wanted Bally or FanDuel, and people are like, are we paying that for television? So that's right. And I saw there was a lot of consternation on Live today, because it's come out that people are trying to figure out. There are a lot of people use MLB.TV for the out of market streaming service, and obviously ESPN has control of all that now, because of their they bought all of MLB's streaming stuff, and now there's talk that there might be a double paywall, that in order to have MLB.TV at the whatever, 120 a year, whatever the hell it is, you have to pay the $30 a month for ESPN Unlimited. So a double paywall for something that didn't have a double paywall. And people are like, is this true? I don't know. Can I get a trial and cancel and still keep Major League Baseball, MLB.TV? It is stupid complicated. And baseball has honestly been the worst when it comes to all this stuff. They are awful when it comes to blackouts and how all their streaming is handled. And the thing is, though, MLB.TV as a product is really, really good. It works great. You can sync up the radio broadcast with the TV broadcast, so you don't have to listen to the TV guys. It never crashes. It's a great product, but it's stupid complicated to just get the damn thing and watch a game. Let alone honestly, in a perfect world, you would just pay Major League Baseball directly. All the games would be available on MLB.TV with no blackouts. Just keep it simple. But it can never be. It's never that simple. So, I don't know. But regardless of that, I'm glad I won't be giving FanDuel any money. I've always refused to anyway. So, but yeah, it's crazy. It really, really is. All right, with that, Greg, how about question 2? I want those clams.
All right, let's go for it. Born on this date in 1975. Debuted with the Expos, finished off with the Orioles, but made his main hay with not only the Expos, but with the Angels. A Hall of Famer. Not a pitcher, hitter.
Not a pitcher, okay. Position player, Expos, Angels, and you said where he said he ended up his career?
Orioles.
Baltimore, but you wrote that. You really
Baltimore.
won't know him by that.
Won't know him for that.
Hall of Famer.
A hitter.
Yep.
What the hell?
Damn! I know what it's gonna. We're gonna hate it if we don't get this. It's got to be someone we both know.
Oh, you definitely know him.
Yeah. Who would have been with the Expos towards the end? That was a great position player.
Outfielder.
Oh, got it.
Outfield,
yeah.
The only name that comes to mind is Tim Wallach. Is that?
No, not Wallach.
Yeah.
Is he older than that? He might be older than that.
Yeah. Not Wallach.
Was he really, really, really fast? I'm trying to remember. It's not what Tim.
He was a feared hitter. I wouldn't think he wasn't really known for his speed. He was just a feared hitter.
Oh, then I'm at a loss. I'm shocked.
Well, I do have a giveaway clue. I'll give away for number 3.
All right. We'll get to that in a bit, and then Nick and I will both feel dumb after that. So, all right. The other team that made a lot of news this past week was the Pistons. The trade deadline was a few days ago, and there was as usual. She's like every NBA trade is convoluted, involves multiple teams with players moving all over the place. Well, the Pistons were in a 3-team deal at the deadline, and they added shooting. But the bigger news, I think, is who they sent out rather than who they got back. Pistons sent guard Jaden Ivey, their the fifth overall pick of a few years ago, to the Chicago Bulls in a trade that also involved the Timberwolves along with the Bulls. Detroit received swingman Kevin Heuter. He's essentially the centerpiece for the Pistons. He's a swingman. He's known for his 3-point shot. And also forward Dario Saric, who's waived. We'll get into that as to why later. And plus a pick swap, which was interesting. For this coming year, the pick swap with Minnesota is protected. If Minnesota finishes 19th on up, there's protected. But if it's 20th, the Pistons get it. They'll switch. And when the trade went down, the Pistons would have swapped with them because I believe Minnesota was 21st or something like that, and the Pistons are like 27th, so they're going to move up in the draft the way it looks with that deal. Great. The Bulls received Jaden Ivey and veteran guard Mike Conley Jr. Minnesota sent out that pick swap and Conley. So Herter is best known for his 37% 3-point shooting, and he is expected to help with spacing, and essentially he's also an expiring contract. So that will help, obviously, in the offseason. So I think the big shock to everyone to this one is not so much getting Herter. He should help. It is that they finally decided we're going to move. They had to move on from someone of that original young core, and it was pretty obvious just watching the games that Jaden Ivey was going to be the odd man out, especially when he wasn't given a contract offer this past offseason after that bad leg injury he had. So he was going to be a restricted free agent, and he probably is not going to be worth, at least not to the Pistons, what he would get in free agency. So they decided it was time to move on. And he, honestly, guys, Ivey really hasn't been that good this year. I don't know if it's going to get better, because between the broken leg and the knee injury, he lost that athleticism. And that was always his big selling point. And if the athleticism doesn't come back, he's just another guy.
I feel I'm a little more. I think I side a little more with City Hall on this one. Why get rid of him now? Look at Ivey. When he came into the league, he started, I think, with Dwayne Casey in his last year. That team was garbage, and I think he was hurt at the end of the year. Monty Williams, any of those young guys just lost the year with Monty Williams at the helm. Especially him, Ivey, because he got benched in favor of Killian Hayes, and then got hurt last year. So he's been out a long time, hasn't had a lot of playing time.
All right.
And I don't think the coaching staff overall has handled and developed him very well. So I do feel bad for him. I think, that he's had two major issues. He had the broken leg, and then they scoped his knee, I think, early this year in this season. So you don't know what you have, honestly.
Mm-hmm. The issue is the Pistons are suddenly in a win now mode. So they really don't have they're not in position to develop a guy anymore for the most part. And Daniss Jenkins outplayed him when it come down to it.
Oh, Jenkins was ready to go. He was fantastic, and that's why he earned his his pro contract.
Yeah, which we'll talk about in a sec. Yeah.
So, but I don't know. So it's hard to, you got to look at the whole situation. I think you're right. Tigers. The Pistons needed some outside extra 3-point help, some outside shooting, and which is what they got. They also picked up Darko Šarić, who they waived. So he's no longer on the team. And then they're going to have to sign Duran in the offseason. That's
a huge deal.
A lot of money. A lot of money, and Thompson isn't that far behind.
Yep.
A year after that, it'll be Holland.
So,
Perhaps. So the question is, what do you do with Jaden Ivey?
Yeah.
So does this make the team better that they got Heuter in and that they're in? I think they're in as good a position as they've been in a long time. I think they could compete against the West. They have shown that they could compete against the Western Conference teams, which is who they would face in the finals anyway. So maybe it is a little bit of win now. Yeah. This year or next year. So.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because Trajan Langdon was asked about all this, and he essentially said that they keep saying, he kept talking about the chemistry. We don't want to break up the chemistry because any splash deal would have required them trading Tobias Harris and his $25 million a year contract or whatever it is, more than that. And he really feels like kind of like the locker room glue guy. He's the veteran that kind of this is how you're to be an NBA basketball player, because the guy's been around forever and still a pretty darn effective player. I mean, we've seen it numerous times when the Pistons really, really need to get a basket down low, they get it to Harris, and he more often than not comes through. And Langdon was essentially saying, well, I don't want to make any of those kind of big changes. We'll think about it in the offseason when obviously he's going to be a free agent. A few of these other guys are going to be expiring contracts. And then maybe then they'll take a big swing. It's much like what OKC did 2 years ago. They were in the similar position as the Pistons. Decided we're just going to roll with it for the most part. Don't make any big swings. And then got knocked out in the playoffs. Knew what they needed to do. And then the next year they fixed those issues and won the championship. And it feels like that's the blueprint that Trajan Langdon wants to use.
Well, let me add one in since you're talking about chemistry and big swings. And every Piston fan who's been around a little while should remember this one when they traded away Chauncey Billups for Allen Iverson. Mm-hmm. Allen Iverson probably was a better player one-to-one compared to Billups, but boy, did that screw with chemistry.
Yes,
holy crap. That was like a train wreck. Mm-hmm. Every fan was repulsed by having Iverson on that team. Just were really pissed off. And
the ultimate me first player on a team built as a team.
Exactly. And then Chauncey Billups was the general on the court. Yeah. And so they just really cut the heart, the mind out of the team. Mm-hmm. If Ben Wallace was the heart, Chauncey was the mind on that team. So and so I think the chemistry is not a small thing. Because these players were there like 2 years ago for Monty. A lot of these players, there was like zero chemistry. There was like zero anything actually. But but now they're a cohesive team, and that's what's kind of made the difference for those guys.
Yeah, and you hear that in interviews, and when Cade talks about it, just he loves the locker room chemistry on this team, and it really does feel like, Greg, that every time the Pistons are good, they seem to have a very, very, very cohesive unit that plays elite defense, and that's essentially that's become what this. These Pistons aren't exactly an offensive powerhouse. They really do need more shooting, but you could argue they're the best defensive team in the league.
I'm okay with kind of seeing what you got this year and not.
Yeah.
We talked about this with City a couple weeks ago, and I'm okay with just kind of letting this thing play out. I don't think there's any sense of urgency. I know that the record is gaudy. I get it. They'll probably win mid to upper 50s in terms of games. They'll likely be the top seed in the East, and that's all very tempting to want to do something splashy. But I'm okay with letting this thing ride out. Because why? Because they're in a really, really good position to help themselves in the offseason. They've got, as City mentioned, all of their number one picks for the next 7 years. They've got money. They got the exemption. There's a lot of stuff to like if you're a GM in this league with what the Pistons have in terms of assets they have, future assets they could trade, signings they could do. This could be this summer coming up could be the big summer in terms of making a big splashy move. And I think anything that happens this year is almost like icing on the cake. They're clearly ahead of schedule. There's no question about that. Even though they made the playoffs last year, I still think they're ahead of schedule in terms of what the record is. But I'm okay with just letting this. I think that move that they made with Heuter and Ivey is fine. By the way, I saw a weird. I'm not sure if you guys saw this. I saw a weird clip of Ivey with the Bulls. I think it was last night or a couple nights ago. Totally out of control. He got the ball in the backcourt, dribbled up to the midcourt, and then fired some weird pass, like
a baseball pass. Yes, I saw that.
It
looked like he was pissed at somebody.
It was just weird. But I wish nothing but the best for Ivey. I have nothing against the kid at all. But I think if you're going to make a move in the middle of a season like this, for where the Pistons are right now in their transformation, I think this is fine. It's perfect. Now, when I say it's perfect, doesn't mean I'm not suggesting that Porter's going to do what Dennis Schroeder did last year. But I'm just thinking in terms of they've got such a bright future. I think they'll just continue to learn how to win in the playoffs. Do they need another guy next to Cade? Yeah, probably. But you know what, though? You mentioned it, Al. Pistons championship teams of the past haven't really had that. Who would you call the number 2 guy on the 04 team? Who was the number 4 team? One guy? Who was the one guy, let alone the number 2 guy?
Right.
And then 89, who was the number 2 guy? Dumars, maybe Danley, Aguirre.
Depends on which night.
Honestly, varied from night to night. Honestly, you're right.
So I don't know that you. I mean, I know I'm talking about 2 different eras. I understand.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is your point was that the Pistons championship teams have been usually the sum of their parts is
greater than the sum of the parts. Yeah.
Right. I would get that.
However, that math works.
but it seems to be the case. I mean, but it doesn't mean that it's going to work again this year. But what I'm saying is they could get by. They can win a series or 2 with what they have. City said it'd be great to make it to the conference finals. I agree. And he made another good point. He said, "Well, where's the roadblock? Not to disrespect the Celtics, not to disrespect the Cavaliers, not to disrespect the Knicks, even though the Pistons."
Please disrespect the Knicks.
But who is really going to stand in their way? I feel like the only team that's going to stand in their way is themselves.
Yeah. Right.
I know it sounds terribly arrogant, but I think the Pistons' biggest opponent will be themselves in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's worth noting that they're playing right now. They're in Charlotte, and Charlotte's very, very hot. They're above. They're pushing 500 now, and the Pistons are up 4 at half, and yet they're only shooting 15% from 3, compared to Charlotte shooting 48% from 3. Yet the Pistons are still up 4, which really shows that. And I think this is something JB Bickerstaff brought up, is that he said there's more than one way to win games. You just, and we're finding out the Pistons You can win games without chucking 63-pointers a game. Like Celtics, for example. That's been their MO the last couple of years. The Pistons are not a very good long shooting team. Heuter has played. I looked at the numbers, but he didn't even take a shot in the first half. And that's been mentioned. He has barely even practiced with the team, so there's going to take some time to get him, kind of more involved into the offense. But still, and this has kind of been the Pistons all year. They're winning games. They're often winning games easily, despite not being a good outside shooting team, because they're great from the mid-range on in, and they play elite defense. And I love watching the Pistons just because they don't chuck 50, 60 3-pointers a game. I mean, yeah, I would love to see if they had a couple of dead-eye 3-point shooters, but they don't, and they're still making do. And that's kind of what I enjoy about this.
Well, and then when they're on their game, they're throwing, even good 3-point shooting teams, they throw them off.
Yeah, exactly.
I forget who it was, like Denver. Well, Denver, that was an interesting couple of games with those guys. But, who was it recently? They just kind of told it must have been the Knicks. Just like Knicks didn't know what to do. That was fun.
And the point differential of the Knicks, it's nuts. They played the Knicks twice, and the point differential is plus 69, as the kids would say. Nice for the and that's supposed to be the second best team in the East, which is probably looking more and more like it might be Boston now. But regardless of all that, I mean that is crazy how. And that is also coming off probably the Pistons' worst game of the year when they lost to a horrible Washington team.
Right.
But games like that happen. I wasn't too uptight about that.
No.
But, unlike, some of Pistons' Twitter who thought the world was coming into an end. But, but still, the Pistons are ahead of schedule. They're a really good team. And helping do that is obviously, as Nick alluded to, is Jenkins, whose contract was elevated yesterday from a two-way contract. In the NBA, you're allowed as a two-way player. That's someone who's essentially you're the tween guy. You're the guy who can go to the G League and the NBA back and forth. You're allowed to play 50 games in the NBA as a two-way player before you have to either be converted or you stay in the G League. And the Pistons finally converted him after 50 games yesterday. They signed him to a 2-year deal with a team option for year 2. Has been a lot of talk as to how much it is. But I think it involved the mid-level exemption, all that crazy stuff that is very complicated. But it sounds like it's probably around $4 or $5 million a year. The kid bet on himself because he originally turned down a deal, I think a few days ago, because it was, I think from what he said, it was probably more like $2 million or $3 million, something like that.
It was a minimum deal, whatever that is.
Yeah, it was a minimum deal, and he got more than the minimum. Yeah, that's it, Nick. Exactly. And it makes sense because him elevating his game essentially helped make Ivey expendable. And he's hitting almost 40% from three. He's averaging 8 points, 3 assists a game. He's really become something they really needed, a backup point guard who you can throw in there for 15, 20 minutes and not have to worry about the team. And he has been great at that. It's the feel-good story of the year of the Pistons. It really is.
What's interesting about that, too, we're talking about Langdon and whether he should be making some kind of splash move or not. Like, all these other little moves have been panning out for him.
Yes.
Bringing in Jenkins, bringing in Paul Reed.
Javonte Green.
Paul Reed.
Yes.
Javonte Green.
Yes.
Last year, Malik Beasley.
Yeah.
Hardaway was, a solid player, too, last year. Duncan Robinson this year, all of those guys contributed.
Yeah.
You could argue they could be better. Robinson could play better defense, blah, 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 blah. But they're contributing. And
they're not expensive players.
That's right. Yeah. Like Cleveland just picked up James Harden. Like, good luck with that one.
That is laughable.
Good luck with that one.
When has James Harden ever won anything? At least a Harden-led team is not going to win anything. I didn't get that deal at all. Yeah. I really didn't. That was weird.
It had to be a salary cap thing because it doesn't make any sense for anything else, right? And,
exactly.
So I guess the Clippers had to find someone dumber than the Cavaliers. Anyway, sorry, Greg.
No, that's fine. I'm sorry, actually. Langdon is right now putting on a master class of how to. And now some of the stuff has maybe fallen into his lap, and maybe you got to be a little lucky too. I mean, people talk about, you got to be the savvy guy who knows everything he does is designed to work out, and every time something works out, it's by design. Sometimes you just got to get lucky. You got to get some guys who got to come like Daniss Jenkins. Yeah. Sometimes a guy like that just kind of falls into your lap, kind of emerges. Nick mentioned Hardaway Jr. last year and Beasley, and now this year Robinson and so forth, and Javonte Green and so forth. And sometimes you get a little lucky too, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But none of these players cost the Pistons a lot of money. They're all contributing to Nick's point. Even Paul Reed, like you mentioned. So yes. I'm not sure if this is a really, maybe this is just a lot of good reflection on JB as a coach. I know he gets dragged a little bit for going so deep into his bench. He'll play. It's not unusual for him to play 10, 11 guys a night, not at all. But if it's working, keep at it. Well, is it good enough in the playoffs? We'll see. I mean, obviously in the Knicks series, the Pistons did not have enough of an attack to overcome just having pretty much Cade. Beasley was cold for long stretches in that series. Hardaway wasn't as good as he was in the regular season. The whole team didn't really play up to
Stewart was hurt.
Yeah. Right. So that was a big one. So that's we'll see. But I think that this is right now. Langdon is showing really that he's in one of those modes where every button he's pushing is working. How long can that last? I don't know. Kind of reminds me of Joe. When Joe first took over the Pistons in the early 2000s, every button he pushed worked. Don't forget Ben Wallace trade, getting Chauncey, getting Rip, getting up, making the Rasheed Wallace trade, all bringing Lindsey Hunter back. All these things worked. He fired Rick Carlisle for 2 years, brought in Larry Brown. He made a lot of moves that worked. Everything that guy did worked for about 4 or 5 years. And then it didn't work. Then all the moves he was making didn't work. And Nick mentioned the Iverson trade was maybe the most head scratcher of them all. But he hired Michael Curry to coach. A lot of weird things. Yeah, Joe did. But the first half of his career in Detroit, everything that guy did, he had the Midas touch. Everything he did turned to gold. But then it quickly turned on him. And the jury is out on him in New Orleans right now. I don't know but that's another team. But as far as Langdon goes, right now he's just enjoying a really good string of good luck. I'm not saying that it's all luck, but he's having a good string of luck right now.
Yeah, it's the building around the edges is something he seems to be much better at than Troy Weaver was. That's for damn sure.
Oh, for sure, no question.
Yeah. All right. With that, I guess we'll touch a little bit on hockey, and then we'll probably start wrapping things up because I don't think we want to talk about the Super Bowl because I think when we were all texting last night, the consensus was the commercials suck and the game's boring. The only excitement was Nick talking about the partying on the streets outside his window after the game. But other than and it is what it is, and obviously the new season will start in a couple weeks, and then we'll be able to talk about the combine and free agency and everything else. But now, not much to go on with the Lions anyway. But in hockey, obviously we're on the Olympic break. The Wings won't play again till the 26th of this month. They're off for like 2 weeks, and they hadn't even started the men's tournament in hockey. It's been the women's been playing so far, but. I hate to say that there's a little bit of deja vu compared to the last couple of years, but the Wings slumped going into the Olympic break, going 1-3-1 in their last 5 games. They did not look good going in. They had one good game, I believe, when they beat Colorado. Other than that, they've been kind of Regardless, even though they've been slumping, they're still solidly in playoff position at 33-19-6 overall, 72 points. That's third place in the Atlantic. They're essentially tied with Montreal. Montreal has a game in hand, and I think they're like 7 points behind Tampa right now. So they're still in good shape. And they have a 7-point lead on the nearest team out of the wild card. So they're in okay shape, but it's a little bit nervous seeing what's happened over the past couple weeks. That they are not playing. They were not playing well going into the break, not at all.
I'm back to what I've said from the get go. Look at the goal differential. I think it's -1 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get nervous about these guys. I've said this. I don't know how many times I've said this on this show. They have 4 guys who score, and when those guys don't score, they struggle. Okay?
Yep. Yeah.
They're riding high with Gibson. Gibson is playing very well in goal. There's no question about that. You mentioned the Colorado game. They scored a goal 33 seconds in, and that's all they.
Yep.
That was the whole.
That's all they. Yeah. Exactly.
And you say, well, they had a good game against. I'm not sure if they had a good game or Gibson had a good game.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, it'd probably be the best way to
Obviously,
put it.
you have to play well in front of a goalie to get a shutout. I'm not. I get it. And Colorado's a very high. Colorado's only lost 8 or 9 games in regulation all year.
Yeah.
They're a very, very good team. But I worry about these. That's why I don't get too excited about them. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of glad that the Olympic break is coming up now because we don't have to watch them for a couple of weeks. Maybe when they come back from the break, they'll get screw it. As Torts would say, screw it on straight. Get it screwed on straight.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, they're kind of like you said. They kind of limped into the break. When they lose games, it's because they're not skating. Oh, we're not skating. I still don't trust them. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Will they make the playoffs? Probably. It would be a catastrophic collapse if they didn't make the playoffs. Of course. Are they capable of catastrophic collapse? Yes, absolutely. If Gibson starts to turn old again, if the guys, the top 4 to stop scoring, if somebody comes back from the Olympic break hurt again. Mm-hmm. Anything can happen. So I'll believe I'm a doubting Thomas with this team. I am a doubting Thomas. I mean, prove me wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. I'll side with Greg on this one. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is always this time of year where the plane starts to go down, and and for some reason there's that
they're a great.
It was the All-Star. It was all like the All-Star breaks, that time just really I don't know what it does to that team in the last few years, but whatever it is, it's been repeated for a few years now. And the 2-week Olympic break is just I think it'll be too much. I have no idea what this team is going to do either.
Right.
And I refuse to get excited about their hockey in January and December. Right. The only thing I could say is they may be able to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Because they did well enough earlier in the season.
Right.
So even if they start the nose starts heading downwards, there may be enough cushion to just squeak in.
Yeah.
So unlike last year where it was only a split second they did well, a couple weeks, and then suddenly they just went down in flames. So, but I think Greg is right. They only have a couple guys that really score, and if they're not scoring, nobody's scoring.
Right.
So,
and they're down a top 4 defenseman with Edmondson out with injury, and they don't know for sure when he's coming back. Supposedly he'll be able to come back sometime after the break. But you know how hockey is with their injuries.
Well, you know what? What I will say is a positive, and I will completely give credit where credit is due. Mo Seider's having a good year. Mo Seider is having a good year. He's playing very well. He's emerging. I think I'm in the Mo Seider camp. I think he's a keeper. I think he's going to be a really good defenseman for the Red Wings for a long time. Mm-hmm. And they need stability back there. Of course they do. That defensive core has been a train wreck the last 3 or 4 seasons. Yeah. And so he's having a good year. He really is. Seider's playing very well. But I'm worried that they don't have enough oomph. And Nick's right. When you bank that, and that's why it's so important to bank points in October, November, December, because that can give you that cushion that you need for what if you do fall into a little bit of a slump. They always say, didn't they say, Al, that if you're in playoff contention by Thanksgiving, you're probably going to make it or something like that?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. If you're in playoff position when Thanksgiving hits, you're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or at least that's the general consensus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were. So fingers crossed. But, there's, as they say, there's always exceptions to the rule, unfortunately. But, yeah, this has got to be the year Yzerman does something at the deadline. He's got to. He can't stand pat again or sell. He's got to get someone.
No, right.
Preferably someone who can
deadline?
put the puck in the net.
When is the
I
deadline?
don't know. Early March? Or is it late February?
I'm not
I have to
sure.
Google that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
That seems so damn late for
I know.
a trade deadline. Like, how do you get the guys in and get them, acclimated to the new team in any way?
It is March 6th.
Yeah, that's real late.
Dang, that's like another month.
Yeah.
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 So,
I hope they take a swing. I would kill to watch playoff hockey. It's been too goddamn long.
Yeah.
And as much as I enjoy the other three teams and their playoff atmosphere, in NHL playoffs, it's just like another whole thing altogether. It's really something. It's another level of hockey.
There are so many players on that team that need.
Yes, that's the other thing. They need it.
I mean, as much as I like Sider and Raymond and some of these other guys, they don't have it. Even Larkin barely has any experience.
Yeah, just his rookie year.
So you got to have. I've said that. That's what frustrates me about Yzerman. He doesn't seem to understand that how important it is to gain that experience. Because exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
NHL playoff hockey is a different animal, and it's really true in any sport. Postseason in any sport is a different animal.
Yeah.
And unless you experience that firsthand as a player, I don't care how many veterans you have on the team that can tell you about it. You have to do it. You have to experience it. How about in those days, Al, when they were winning cups and contending for cups, every rush up the ice was
yes.
your heart was in your chest. Everything was so magnified in the playoffs.
Life and death, literally life and death.
Oh, in a playoff overtime game. Oh my God.
Oh God. Yeah.
I mean, geez.
Oh yeah. Well, at the very least, we won't have any West Coast overtime games. I used to despise those games.
No.
Oh my God.
2 o'clock.
But yeah, exactly. But also the other worth bringing up the other Wings news is that there's going to be change in the booth. Is that Paul Woods announced he's going to retire.
Yep.
He's been essentially a lifelong Red Wing. He's, I believe, 7 years as a defenseman with them in the 70s and 80s. And then the year after he retired, he joined the broadcast booth with Bruce Martin. And he's been there for 40 years as their color guy.
Unbelievable.
And he announced that it's time. He's, like I said, 70 years old. And poor Ken Cal is finally had to break in a new color guy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's and he was a bit of an acquired taste because he has a interesting speaking style, to say the least. Paul Woods does, but he's very good at the X's and O's, and not a huge personality, but he knows what he's talking about, and he's just been here forever. And soon, and we're going to start seeing more and more of this. George Blaha is 80 years old, for example. Greg Kelser's been doing Pistons games seemingly forever as well. He's been doing them for 30 years. Now we're going to start seeing more and more and more of this. And I mean, we've seen the big heels in the Tigers booth, for example. So, Godspeed, Paul Woods. He's really put in the work. Essentially 50 years with the Red Wings as a player and an announcer.
That's absolutely true.
And not many people can say that about anything.
I said on Twitter or X that I'm old enough to remember Paul Woods, who was one of the best penalty killers I've ever seen.
Yes, I remember watching him on the ice. Yes,
he was. He came through the Canadiens organization. The Red Wings got him off waivers or something. Essentially stole him from the Canadiens. He was like a 15 to 20 goal guy, maybe 15 goals. But his thing was killing penalties and speed. Was his deal. And he would harass the other team's big star players. He was a very annoying guy, but he was a clean player. He was a very clean guy. Didn't fight. Wasn't a fighter, but was just always. He draped you. He was like he just draped you and blanketed you on defense. And but yeah, he's one of those guys that just a lot of people don't remember as a player. A lot of people don't remember Mickey Redmond as a player, quite frankly.
No, yeah, except we're old enough to remember that as well.
But
You are.
Yes, we are. Greg and I are. Yes, I know I am for sure.
Mickey Redmond was always in the booth, as far as I remember.
Yep.
And he's not getting any younger either. He's like, what, 77 or something like this at this point? Yeah, he's obviously older than Paul Woods because he was retired. He was retired because of his back in the the mid 70s. He was probably around 30 then. Yeah, because he's a guy who's he's one of those what ifs because he was a goal scorer back when when it was when 50 he was a 50 goal scorer. That's a rare thing even back then. So his back giving out really that really is a what if what his career could have ultimately have been. But we've been blessed to have some of these guys locally for years and years and years in the booth. It's been great. All right, I guess Greg, it's time for the gimme. Question 3.
Yep. He's all the things already said. Expos, Angels, Hall of Famer, feared hitter. The giveaway, he has a son who's a big star right now who has the exact same name.
Oh, not Vlad Guerrero.
Yes, Vlad Guerrero.
Yeah. I totally forgot he was on the Expos.
I forgot. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, 8 years with the Expos, actually.
The man who he could, that ball was 6 feet outside, he'd break it into the outfield.
Yeah.
He'd swing at anything.
Right.
And
Wait,
hit it
he was on
hard.
the Angels or the Dodgers?
Angels. He never wore batting gloves. Never.
Yeah.
Never, ever, ever. I remember that about him. Yeah, good bad ball hitter, as they say. Bad ball hitter. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They said that August 14th, 2009, he hit a pitch after a bounce in front of home plate.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
Oh, God. That's funny. Yeah, he
Oh,
won
my-
the MVP in 2004 in the American League with the first year at the Angels. And, great hitter Vlad was. Vlad the Impaler, they called him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I can't believe. It's obvious now that you say it. His name, the gimme. But yeah, I completely forgot his game history and that. And I always thought, I never really thought of him more as an outfielder. I just thought of him as a hitter, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Right.
So. Yeah, I would never say fast. Tim Raines is who I was kind of thinking of. I think that might have been he was a little earlier than that. Now that I think of it.
I thought he was in the 70s. He was
more 80s, I think. But
80s,
I was a little too early.
Yeah.
All right, I guess with that, we've kind of wrapped up the topic since no one's getting clams tonight. So no orange roof and clams tonight. So.
Well,
I think
that's actually that's a relief for me because Greg would have sent a ground over here to see how. Cheapskate.
Oh, Jesus. I think it's time for us to start working our way out of here, so it's time for our jerk of the week. As always, Nick, you get to go first. Who is your jerk of the week? And it's not Greg for Shell Shipping.
No. I'm going to go with what it's a little bit of an obscure story, but I'm going to give it a little bit of background. It has to do with the Minnesota Vikings general manager getting fired, I think about a week or week and a half ago, something like that. And there was postings of like why he got fired, and they listed a bunch of things that was related to, like poor drafting roster, the J.J. McCarthy, Sam Darnold thing, which you could point to all of those. That's fair. That's within the GM's sort of, responsibilities, right? And so there's definitely argument there. But one of the things that was brought up, and this was, I may go on my biggest tirade ever, like because of this one, because this one really is irritating, is one of the things that they pointed to, and he got criticized for, was that he became a father while becoming a general manager. So his wife gave birth, they had a baby son, and he took 2 weeks paternity leave, and he was criticized for that because it was like during training camp or something of that sort. And they're like, that was probably a big deal. And I'm thinking, and I think it was like other former GMs criticized that, and the only thing I can say is, you motherfuckers, you deserve to have your kids stick you in an old folks home and forget you if that's the way you're going to treat your family. Because your kids have like one father.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody else.
Yep.
They need you more than the fucking team needs you.
Yeah.
And at 2 weeks. And he was also working from home while he was taking that time off as a father.
Right. I'm sure he was.
So, I mean, I hate that about our society in general, that we kind of like complain about, kids. Oh, what are we doing it for the kids? Like, no, you're willing to shit on your kids because your boss is telling you can't stay home and take care of them. So, and I've like read stories where guys like, what's his name? Joe Gibbs of the Redskins.
Yeah.
He won Super Bowls, but he was working so much, his wife had to send tapes of his kids to him so he knew what was going on with his kids. As much as he's respected as being like a champion in that, what a shitty thing to do for your kids. So anybody who is glorifying any of that kind of crap, fuck them. And they go beyond jerk of the week. And they deserve to be stuck in old folks' homes and forgotten and let them fucking rot. So it's one thing if you accuse that general manager of just not being an effective general manager.
Right.
And, that's part of like any job. You're just not cutting it. But that goes beyond that. That kind of criticism, that's bullshit. So to hell with these successful guys who neglected their kids and treat it like suffering, but yet a badge of glory. To hell with them.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that story.
I knew exactly where Nick was going when he brought up the Vikings GM. And it's that's ridiculous. You're not really trying if you're not in the office 20 hours a day. That's crazy. That's stupid. How smart, what kind of decisions are you going to make if you're not sleeping? And you're in the office till 11 o'clock at night and you come back at 5 the next morning. I'm with you there. It's absolutely ridiculous that it's become a badge of honor in football that you need to work 18-hour days just to prove that you're a good coach or a manager or whatever. It's crap. It really is. And the fact that this was used against, like you said, there was plenty of reasons that you could fire him. Throwing that out there was absolutely ridiculous. I'm completely with you there.
I mean, I see that in other industries too. Like I saw that
I'm
with
sure you do.
professors as well.
Yeah.
Professors who had these great research programs and were revered by their students and colleagues, and their kids resented them. But that kid only has one father.
Yeah.
So, or in some cases one mother, and so where your kids need you more than your profession needs you. Sorry, you need your profession more than it needs you.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you nailed it.
So,
all right. Up next is Greg Eno. Who is your jerk of the week?
I'm going to go with this story broke, I think over the weekend. Atlanta, it's happened Saturday. Atlanta Falcons rookie James Pierce Jr., who had like 10.5 sacks.
Oh, yeah.
He did a pretty good rookie year. Went on a weird, basically used his car as a weapon against WNBA player Wikaya Jackson. Apparently they had dated for a period of time. And he went on a rampage where he rammed her car, he was cutting her off. At one point he tried to get into her car at a stoplight because she was trying to get away from him. He tried to run over a cop. He almost ran a cop over. They finally arrested him. He was resisting arrest. Apparently he was texting her, stalking her essentially. She didn't want anything to do with him anymore after she broke up with him. And he would have none of it. And finally the officers had to pull a gun on him and all sorts of nasty things. I don't. This happened Saturday in Miami-Dade County, so somewhere in Florida. But she plays for the Sparks, this Jackson woman, and he just went off, and it could have been really, really ugly. I mean, I don't know what his intention was. Had the police not shown up, what he was going to do. But the Falcons issued a statement that said, "We are gathering more information." Okay, whatever. But,
generic.
So he finished third in the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year voting. I didn't know that. 10.5 sacks he had, which is pretty good for a rookie. I mean, I don't have to tell you why he's jerk of the week. I mean, it's obvious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it just brings back when these kinds of I thought the NFL lately. It seems like the NFL has kind of gone away from their players doing these sorts of things. And there was a period of time in the 8 to 10 years ago where it was really ugly. A lot of players were getting in trouble for
Ray Rice's 2-game suspension for almost killing a woman, for example.
Girlfriend abuse,
yeah.
Right. Ray, what was that guy's name? Ray
Rice,
I
believe. Yeah.
And there's videos would come out of these guys, abusing women and so forth, and then they kind of settled down for a while. We didn't really hear a story like that for a while, and now here comes this one with Pierce, and I don't know what the Falcons are going to do with this guy. He's a rookie. He's only played 1 year, so he's kind of throwing his career away in a way.
Yeah.
He's going to go to jail. He's 5 felony charges, including aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, aggravated stalking, and aggravated battery of a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
This is not misdemeanor stuff. He was released after posting a $20,000 bond. Obviously, he'll go to trial. Like everybody should have a trial. But this is going to screw. I just hate to see I hate to see this kind of thing anyway. But I don't know what's going through the mind of a guy like this. I don't know. What does he think? What is he? He's going to get away with whatever he's going to try to do, and nobody's ever going to know about it. And then and the victim herself is a high-profile person because she's a professional athlete.
Yeah.
The whole thing was just the ugly side of. I know these athletes are people too, and what have you, but. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's what is there to say when you see people throwing their lives away for essentially because they have a temper?
Because a girl broke up.
Obviously, this is worse than that for what he did. But how someone lets themselves get to that point, I can't fathom. I really can't. Right. I'm with you there.
There's another former player that he played within the last 10 years, I think, but he just killed somebody.
Yeah, I remember seeing
on purpose or by accident.
No, it was on purpose. It was and I think he played a little bit for the Jets and a couple other teams, and I forget his name, but it was pretty ugly.
Yeah. All right, I wasn't sure where I wanted to go with the jerk of the week. I mean, I could pick Donald Trump for his. I don't know if you heard about the shenanigans with the Gordie Howe Bridge. He's threatening tonight, or actually this afternoon. He is threatening to not allow it to open because he wants more tariff and other agreements from Canada, even though Canada paid for the entire fucking bridge. And it's like, and he also said something about having it. It was one of those stupid Truth Social posts where he also mentioned something about China taking away hockey. For some, it was. Look it up. I'm serious. Look it up. It is complete word salad. But the biggest one is the threat to close the bridge. That's a huge fucking deal. And I've been on a boat to see it. Been underneath it. It's fucking gorgeous. It's an amazing piece of engineering. And the Canadians paid for it themselves. So I don't. Regardless of all that. And then there was so much going on with the Super Bowl Bad Bunny stuff. The Kid Rock alternative concert. Apparently nobody watched, but I'm going to go with something with that. I'm sure you're familiar with Jake Paul, the YouTuber who thinks he's the boxer, and he fought a bunch of tomato cans till he finally got his ass kicked when he fought a real boxer a few months ago. Well, when it came to Bad Bunny, he said he goes. He called Bad Bunny. He went on to it, you guys know the story. He's a Spanish-speaking singer from Puerto Rico. One of the big stars in the world now. He dominated the Grammys, and he was the Super Bowl halftime star. Well, Jake Paul essentially said he's a fake American. I don't think he knew that Puerto Rico is an American territory. He didn't know he was an American citizen. And he doubled down on it all weekend, apparently, until he finally, people said, how stupid are you? The guy's an American citizen. Puerto Rico is an American territory. And it just drives home there are so many stupid people out there today, or so many people out there just driving misinformation online that you end up with stupid shit like this, where you have someone who probably has millions of YouTube followers and making millions from Netflix for sham boxing, not knowing that Bad Bunny is an American citizen, even though Spanish is his first language, not English. Honestly, guys, the whole Super Bowl halftime show thing was such manufactured outrage. I didn't pay that much attention to it. The thing I think people have to remember, Super Bowl halftime the show isn't aimed towards football fans. We weren't paying attention to it. We were texting each other during halftime, bitching about the game, and saying that, Bad Bunny, whatever. The people who NFL hires guys like Bad Bunny, or last year was Kendrick Lamar, because it gets young kids, gets young people, and it gets casuals. People who are only watching for that, or they're watching because it's the Super Bowl and it's a thing, and they're trying to get new fans. And for that matter, they're also trying to expand internationally. So yeah, having a Spanish-speaking singer makes a hell of a lot of sense for the NFL business-wise. And to their credit, they backed it up completely, never backed down from any of the bullshit coming from the right.
Right.
So my jerk of the week is Jake Paul and other grifters on the right who made much ado about nothing. Bad Bunny, American citizen, famous singer, put on a nice show people seem to enjoy, and the fact that it caused so much outrage is absolutely infuriating, that we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't even be talking about shit like this right now, but yet here we are. But then again, we could be talking about the Gordie Howe Bridge. Which is even dumber. But that was too tangential to sports. No, even though, Gordie Howe. But regardless, that's my jerk of the week. All right.
That's a good one.
I think that's it.
Yeah,
I think we're actually going to get done early, guys. I'm shocked.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so I guess with that, that's time to start wrapping things up. So you're always first, Greg. You get out the thank yous and the social media and anything we might have coming up.
Well, I first of all, I invited Keith Gave to be here on the 23rd, 2 weeks from tonight. So, because I think it's a good time to talk hockey.
Oh, fantastic!
Right,
Awesome. Yes.
We'll be coming back from a break. Well, the Olympics will have essentially been over.
Yeah, and he was at the Sergei Fedorov retirement ceremony.
Right, and just a good time, I think, to talk hockey. So hopefully Keith can join us 2 weeks from tonight. I want to remind everybody to subscribe to my Substack, gregeno.substack.com. I'll be in your inbox every Monday. Or sometimes twice a week if something big happens, like the Mickey Lolich passing that happened last week. Follow me on X at Greg Eno, and I want to thank my lovely wife Sharon for putting up with this nonsense every 2 weeks, and thank you, gentlemen, for making Monday night so gosh darn fun.
Yeah, so that was it. We need more columns about Greg getting his bell rung. I'm just saying. So. But yeah, but also Nick, let everybody know where they can follow you online.
Yeah, mine is pretty simple. I'm usually on Twitter, and that's where I'll be talking about sports. My handle is at Nick Milanovich. Just very simple, like you see on the screen there. And, if you want to talk Detroit sports, just jump into the conversation.
Yeah, where you can all yell at Bob Page about being a Jets fan or something. So that cracks me up whenever I get a text from you guys and you're bitching about Page. I go, what the hell are these saying now? So.
Old man yelling at clouds, man. That's
Oh, okay. Again, thank you both for taking time out of your busy weeks to kind of a respite from everything and just talk sports for the most part for a couple hours. It's always a highlight of the week. As always, please, we would love it if you like, share, and subscribe to the Knee Jerks podcast. We are found pretty much anywhere podcasts are aggregated. If you want to go to Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, these are pretty much any place that has podcasts. Do a search for the Knee Jerks of Eno, Nick, and Big Al, so on and so. Any combination of that, you can find the show, and we would love it if you subscribe and let us know what you think of the show. Also, we do send live video of this podcast to both YouTube and Twitch. Every episode goes live on video. So you can see our aging mugs, especially mine, as I get grayer and grayer here. So, but, of course, our homepage, thekneejerks.net. That'll have links to all the show notes. It'll have links to all the social media and anything else we talk about. It'll have links to everything can be found at thekneejerks.net. You can also download the podcast from there as well. So I think it's time to get the hell out of here. So we'll see you in 2 weeks because we're still on schedule. I'm still at home. I was up north, but I'm back. So it was too goddamn cold and too snowy. So 2 feet of snow up there, guys. 2 feet. Wow. So anyway, a good snowmobiling, but miserable for a lot of other things. But regardless of all that, we're going to be back in 2 weeks. So we'll see you then. So until that time, this is Al Beaton saying good evening and good luck and aloha, along with Nick Milanovich.
Good night, guys.
And, of course, our favorite goalie, Greg Eno.
Ciao, early. We'll see you in 2 weeks.